In the early days of the World Wide Web, someone once said, give a person a fish and you feed them for a day. Teach them how to use the internet and they won't bother you for weeks. At the time, it made me laugh, but today it feels more prophetic than we knew. Our devotion to our devices isn't just fondness or habit. We're hooked. The moment we wake, we check the headlines. We scroll through our feed before we go to sleep. We're spending at least 7 hours a day online, and our use just keeps on rising. Over the past year, according to one report, the daily average of time spent online went up by 4 minutes per day. 4 more minutes. Doesn't sound like much, but I've been thinking about what it means. Over a year, 4 minutes a day adds up to 1 whole day per person. Means more than 5 billion additional days of internet use in 2022. But I believe that the aim of technology is to make our lives better than they were. And I wonder, if someone told us we'd have 1 extra day per year, would we conclude that the best thing we can do for our families, for our communities, for our world, was to take those extra 24 hours and invest them back into our screens? I am concerned that we're undervaluing the most precious currency of all, our time. I am concerned that even as virtual reality improves by the day, we're neglecting the needs of our actual reality, and our mental health is suffering too. So I want us to think symbolically about how to reclaim those 4 minutes. I'd like to propose 4 steps we can take to invest those minutes wisely. When you consider the challenges facing us in our fast-paced, complex world, from climate change to conflict, infectious disease, political polarization, and more, the real progress we need is not better machines, but for all of us to be better humans. In May, for example, the UN Refugee Agency shared a milestone it called staggering. The number of forcibly displaced people had passed 100 million. Those numbers may seem too overwhelming to grasp, but they aren't numbers. They are people like us, people with hopes and worries and dreams and families they love. In 2017, I visited the camp in Bangladesh where hundreds of thousands of Rohingya Muslims had fled genocide in Myanmar. Genocide aggravated by hate speech online. One image I'll never be able to forget was a skinny little boy. He was trying to drink water from the mud. As you may know, UNHCR is the agency that cares for refugees worldwide. Their entire budget for this year is about $10 billion. Meanwhile, Meta's revenue for just the first quarter was nearly 3 times that amount. Is that the right allocation of resources? As a human family, our priorities are skewed if we are valuing VR, Instagram, and likes over the life of a refugee child. And it isn't just that child's life that is diminished, but our own lives as well. In our interconnected world, where we cannot shield ourselves from others' suffering, our community, our village, and our neighborhood have grown, whether we wanted them to or not. And we need to be looking out for one another if we want peace and stability for ourselves. If we can't overcome our inherent biases, how can we hope to create AI that doesn't have bias baked in? So, minute number 1 goes to boosting compassion without discrimination. Let's invest our second minute in building a common concept of truth. These days, it's all too easy to restrict our news diets to narrowly customized content. Content that feeds what we already think, that confirms what we already believe, and that reinforces instead of challenges the assumptions we already hold. But when we limit our exposure this way, we limit our perspective, which undermines our openness to inquiry and debate. Yet, if we are not willing to contemplate facts that contradict our own opinions, how will we make sound decisions for ourselves, for our families, for our governance? I've often said that one of the most important things we can do to make our world a better place is to take a moment to look at things from the other side's point of view. Not that we're suddenly going to agree with their position or vice versa, but opening our minds might open up some space for common ground. There isn't one right way to do the right thing or get the right results. There's always a third way. And finding that path shouldn't have to feel like a sacrifice or a compromise. Sometimes it's about taking the best of both options to create something new both sides can believe in. We also need to ensure we're equipped to act on our own values. And that's why Minute 3 should go to reclaiming our human agency. Because more and more, we're depending on our devices not simply for distraction, but for direction. Our GPS tells us what route to take. Our texting platforms prompt us what to write. Our shopping apps point us toward what we should buy. We barely have time to think before we act. But the more we delegate decision-making to AI, the fewer choices we're making for ourselves. Intentionally or not, we're giving up our own process of reflection and discernment. And that's a risk. So, what would it look like to reclaim our human agency? Where do we begin? For myself, I'm trying to be more mindful of the trade-offs underway and to notice the moments when enhancing convenience means relinquishing critical thoughts. To keep our mental muscles strong, we need to do the difficult work of weighing and making choices. We need to be willing to forego the algorithm and figure things out for ourselves. Which brings me to the last minute. And my request for this one is very simple. Invest your time in the people you love. Life is precious and always too short. The Twitter feed will never end. There will always be one more TikTok. But time only moves in one direction, and we can't take it back. I lost my father earlier this year. I miss him every day. What I wouldn't give for one more moment with him. So let's take those 4 daily minutes back. Let's put them somewhere that counts. Compassion, truth, human agency, and time well spent with those we love.